Multiple attacks against businesses of all sizes begin with your email. So how do you make sure your email is not compromised? Hi, I am Peter Swarovski, the Director of Operations here at Intelligent Technical Solutions. In this video, we'll talk about how to protect your email from potential attacks. In this video, we'll go over how do hackers get a hold of your email? What are potential attacks originating through your email? What are ways to protect your email? How do hackers get a hold of your email? Most hackers get a hold of your email by sending two kinds of emails. One example are emails with attachments. The end user opens the attachment, may run some sort of macro on a Word document, and at that point it will install malware on the computer. The second kind of email is one with a phishing link to a fake login. This may be a link describing that you've received paid invoice or an outstanding invoice or a virtual fax. Have a link to go ahead and view it, and it'll take you usually to a lookalike website, perhaps an Office 365 email login. But at that point, you are not logging into the real service. They are stealing your username and password. So in our first example with attacks originating through attachments and getting malware on your computer, the reason they want to do this is in order to establish a foothold on the network. They may get in through a regular user in the organization that may not have much privileges to do much things. But once they're in the network, then they can try to leverage additional tools or vulnerabilities to move throughout the network and go from a standard user and escalate their privileges to someone who has more permissions, like a domain administrator. They usually learn a lot about the network in order to maximize their attack. The second example of why they may want to compromise email is getting your actual username and password. As soon as they get a successful username and password and gain access to someone's email, first thing they usually do is search for some key terms, wire, payment, receivable, things originating around money or finances. They may get into a standard user that doesn't have access over control. It may not be, the CFO or the accountant or anything like that, but they may be able to find some other information. We've seen examples of people being a CC on an email where important financial discussions were had. And that information, even though that person may not be authorized to make payments, may be valuable enough that they can craft an attack just around the information that they have, or they can at least glean who in the organization they should go after next. What are potential attacks originating through your email? One example is business email compromise. Another example is ransomware. Business email compromise is where someone is able to get access to your organization's email, whether it be a single user, and then be able to see anything that's come in or sent out through that email account. They can decide how to better leverage that, whether it be spoof an email or make a fake email from a vendor requesting payment that appears to be totally legitimate. We've seen examples where people submit a request to HR to update their direct deposit information for their paycheck. Unfortunately, the attackers have lots of clever ways to leverage the information they have about your business once they've gotten into somebody's email. The other example is ransomware. An attack may originate through email and then escalate to the point of ransomware. Ransomware is where they usually encrypt all of your data and then require payment to decrypt that data. So they make your data useless and take your business down as a result because none of your data is working, and then they hold you ransom in order to put it back the way it was originally. We have more videos about both business email compromise and ransomware, describing them both in more detail. So what are some ways to protect your email? One example is MFA, or multi-factor authentication. A second way is Defender ATP, that's Advanced Threat Protection. And the third one is Security Awareness Training. With MFA, or multi-factor authentication, if you have a user that happens to unfortunately put their username and password into a fake website because it tricked them, the hacker could not use that information to gain access to the email, because they would go to the login site from their computer, they would put in the username and password, and then it would prompt them to put an additional code in or click approve on their multi-factor authentication app. You would have to actually pull out your phone and hit approve, yes, this is me. And then when a user would see that and they didn't initiate a login, they wouldn't hit approve and allow the hackers in. We find that multi-factor authentication is able to thwart 90% plus of all email-related attacks. If your organization secures all of your email accounts with this technology, it helps dramatically reduce the amount of successful attacks against your email. So it really is the most important piece of the puzzle. The second example is Defender ATP, or Advanced Threat Protection. This is a service within Office 365 based email. It allows for a few key features. One is called Safe Links. What that does is it replaces any links in emails with basically a redirect where it goes to Microsoft Safe Links, where you go to the Microsoft site and then it determines, is the final destination of what was sent to you, is it good or bad? And if it's good, it'll allow you through, take you to the web page. But if it's malicious, it can stop and display a warning message or create a case for your administrator to look into. So that way we know a bad link was sent to your user and the user in fact clicked it, but we blocked it before they got there. Another example they have is similar to that. It's called Safe Attachments. It does the same sort of thing where it can take away the attachment if it determines that it is bad. Depending on the way you set the Defender ATP, you could either deliver it right away to make sure you don't slow anything down for your users, or you could say don't make it available until they've scanned it and determined it to be good. So Safe Links, very important for these kinds of attacks, helps against those phishing attacks where you're putting in your username and password into fake websites. And then the Safe Attachment's very important to protect against any files with bad macros or the actual virus itself. And the third one is security awareness training. In these sorts of attacks, typically the weakest link is the human element. They find that they can make very convincing emails that look very accurate. They have lots of techniques to make it time sensitive, make it important. So the best thing you can do is try to protect the weakest link in the chain, which is the human. So if we can educate them, explain to them what to look out for, where to be careful, we can try to minimize those attacks of getting through and being successful. So there's not one catch-all that will protect you from everything. You need to have multiple layers, multiple approaches to best protect your organization. In summary, hackers can get a hold of your email through sending attachments or stealing your credentials. Two of the most common attacks to your email are business email compromise and ransomware. 3 ways to protect your email are MFA, or multi-factor authentication, Defender ATP, or advanced threat protection, and security awareness training. Contact us to talk more about your email setup and how we may be able to help you. Thank you very much for watching this video. Here at ITS, we help businesses thrive by managing their technology.